Hello and welcome to Staffworks Explained. In this video, we'll be talking about East African crude oil pipeline. We have done another video on this project. So in this, we'll be doing a follow-up to see what has happened. We'll cover details, what the project is all about, and other aspects of this project. If it's your first time here, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. You can like, share, and also leave a comment on this video and others that you have done. For the repeat viewers, we thank you for the support that you have accorded to this channel, and we are grateful for that support. In this video, we'll be talking about the design. We'll look at the routes that this pipeline is supposed to follow, the components, shareholders, the benefits which should be accrued out of this project, the challenges that it's facing, and also the project progress that has been made so far. As we know, Uganda discovered oil in Lake Albertine area of this country in 2006, but since then little has been done as far as production of oil is concerned. But we know some groundwork has been done, and our groundwork has been laid for the actualization of this project Oil Uganda. With the discovery of the oil, there has been extensive activities which included further exploration and appraisal of this oil, and this was completed in 2014 for the purposes of allowing production and evacuation of oil in Uganda. There are several developments, that is upstream development projects, which are earmarked, and one of them is East African crude oil pipeline, which will help in evacuation and transportation of oil from the oil fields in Lake Albertine region all the way to the port of Tanga, Tanzania. There's also some central processing facilities. We have one in Tilenga and Kingfisher, which will help in separation of oil with water and also with gas. The Kingfisher one will have 4 wells, pads, and this will have a peak capacity of 42,000 barrels per day. Tilenga facility will have that 1 well pads and a capacity of 204,000 barrels per day. The Tilenga and Kingfisher facilities will be connected to feeder lines to the starting point of the East African crude oil pipeline, which will be at Kabale. Here the oil will be metered and then it will be led into a single stream. The Ugandan refinery will also be constructed, and it's supposed to have a capacity of processing 60,000 barrels per day, and this is what will process oil that will be used in Uganda and exported to the neighboring countries. The remainder of the oil will be exported through the pipeline, which is being constructed in the 2 countries, Tanzania and Uganda. The pipeline route was confirmed in 2016. This was at a summit which was held by the East African head of states. In the period between 2016 and 2018, the route has been studied and narrowed down to its final width of 30 meters, and this allowed initiation of land surveys and also other studies which are supposed to be completed for the purposes of construction of this pipeline. Remember that initially this pipeline was supposed to pass, Uganda was supposed to evacuate its oil through Kenya. The 2 countries were supposed to build a joint pipeline which was supposed to terminate at Lamu port, but citing reasons such as security, environmental, and also cost as well as distance which was to be covered by this pipeline, Uganda opted to shift to Tanzania. There has been geopolitics surrounding all these shifts, but finally Uganda was able to Tanzania was able to convince Uganda through offering some incentives that Kenya could not offer. So far, a special purpose vehicle, the East African crude oil pipeline, which is a dedicated pipeline company, and this company is supposed to design, construct, finance, and operate the pipeline. The shareholders of this company, that is East African crude oil pipeline, are Ugandan National Oil Company, BMNOC, which owns 15% of the shares. We have Total Energies EP, which owns 62%. We have SNOC China Company, which owns 8%, and then we have the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, which owns 15%. This company has established a commercial and legal framework, which include intergovernmental agreement between the governments of Tanzania and Uganda, and this sets out common principles as far as this project is concerned. This was signed in 2017 May. There is also two host government agreements between the EACOP and the governments of Tanzania and Uganda, and these were signed in April 2021 and May 2021. These host government agreements, they cover matters such as of land, health and safety standards, environmental standards, physical regime, authorization, decommissioning, and the recourse to dispute mechanism. Where they are required, these agreements are supposed to be supported by registration in both Uganda and Tanzania. Then we have the EACOP shareholding agreement, which became effective in 15 February 2022, and this was between the four shareholders, as we have mentioned above. Then there is a transport and tariff agreement, which set out terms and conditions for the EACOP to transport oil. Through this agreement, EACOP will receive some income from the tariff, which will be charged for each barrel that will be transported. It also stipulates who holds custody of what and at what particular time. So these are the agreements that have been signed. Then we have the system description of this pipeline. This pipeline will have a length of 1,443 kilometers, of which 296 will be in Uganda and 1,147 will be in Tanzania. It will have a peak capacity of 246 barrels per day. The pipeline will be 24-inch and it will be insulated. It will be buried for its entire length, and it will be 1 meter below the surface. Due to the characteristics of this oil, which is physicals, it's supposed to be heated to allow easy flow. So there will be components where heating systems will be built. Then we have the fiber optic cable capacities, which will be made available by third party, and this is to allow increase in capacity for local operators and also to support the project as there will be required some monitoring. Then we have the above ground installations for the EACOP. We have 6 pumping stations, of which 2 will be in Uganda and 4 will be in Tanzania. Then we have 2 pressure reduction stations and oil terminal in Tanzania. The pipeline will also have 76 main line block valves, which will be installed along the length of the project. These valves can be closed such as to be able to isolate sections of pipeline if there is need. In addition, there will be high voltage electric cables, and as you have said, fiber optic. There will be electric power which will be provided for the purposes of this project. In terms of construction sequences, we have the surveying and clearing of the site, which will be done early. Then we have the laying out of pipe sections, welding pipe sections together. Then there will be digging pipeline trench. There will be construction inspections. There will be lowering pipe into the trench, backfilling trench and pipeline, hydro testing, and site restoration. To ensure pipeline integrity, there are several measures which have been taken during the design, construction, and also during the operation phases. And this will ensure that the pipeline operates correctly during its 25-year lifetime. The 25-year lifetime is out of the period when the oil project will last in Uganda. In terms of routing, the selected route starts at Kavale, which is in Hoima district, in Uganda. It will extend to the south to Chongoleani Peninsula near Tanga Port in Tanzania. The pipeline will start Hoima, which is close to Lake Albert, and will cross the Uganda-Tanzania border between Masaka and Bukoba, past Lake Victoria, to follow its western boundary, traversing Tanzania, passing close to Kahama, Singida, Kondoa, and Tanga in Tanzania. In Uganda, it will be 296 kilometers long to traverse 10 districts and 25 sub-counties. In Tanzania, the pipeline will be 1,147 kilometers, traversing through 8 regions and 25 districts. The routing starting with allocating 10 started with the allocation of a 10-kilometer corridor. This was reduced to 2 kilometers. It was further reduced to between 100 and 500 corridor, and lastly now we have the 30-meter right of way, which is required for the construction phase. During the design phase, the route has maybe narrowed and or even extended depending on the needs as far as the construction process is concerned. In terms of the benefits that will be accrued out of this project, the construction and operation of the EACOP will create jobs and also generate economic activities in both Tanzania and Uganda. The project is expected to boost economic growth, to increase tax revenue for the governments, and also support local businesses. In terms of infrastructure, the project will provide much needed infrastructure development in the region. The pipeline will require the construction of roads, bridges, and other supporting infrastructure, which will have spillover benefits to the local communities. In terms of energy security, it will provide Uganda with a new outlet for its oil exports, reducing its over-reliance on traditional export routes, that is Kenya. This will diversify Uganda exports market and also provide greater energy security for the country. The project has been facing, despite the numerous economic benefits that's supposed to accrue, there are several challenges that the project is facing. The project has faced opposition from various groups, which include environmentalists, local communities, and also human rights organizations. One of the main concerns which has been raised by the environmentalist activists is the potential impact of the pipeline on the region biodiversity and ecosystem. The pipeline will pass through several protected areas, which include Murchison Falls National Park and Serengeti National Park. These are home to endangered species such as elephants, lions, rhinos, chimpanzees, and other animals. The construction of the pipeline could result in habitat loss, fragmentation, and destruction, which could have long-lasting effects on the region's wildlife. Local communities have also expressed concern about the potential impact of the pipeline on their lands, livelihoods, and also cultural heritage. The pipeline will pass through several communities, and many residents who are worried about the forced eviction from their land and also loss of access to national resources, disruption of their traditional ways, and also about potential oil spills, which could be catastrophic if it happens. Human rights organizations have raised concerns about the potential for the pipeline to fuel conflict and human rights abuses in the region. The pipeline will pass through several areas that have experienced conflict, which include areas that are home to ethnic and minorities and indigenous communities. They are concerned that the pipeline could intensify existing tensions and also lead to further violence and displacement. There are also concerns that the East African Crude Oil Pipeline project will contribute significantly to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. The production and consumption of fossil fuels are one of the greatest sources of global carbon emission, and the EACOP project will transport oil from Uganda fields, and these are estimated to be over 1.4 billion barrels of oil. This is a huge amount that could significantly contribute to greenhouse gas emission. Environmental groups have expressed concern that the project will result in a significant increase in carbon emission, which could have severe impacts on the global climate. In addition to the emissions associated with the production of the oil itself, the construction and operation of the pipeline will also generate significant emissions, which include energy used during construction, transportation of materials and equipment. In addition, international financial institutions such as World Bank and European Investment Bank have withdrawn their support for the project, citing environmental and social concerns like the one that we have mentioned above. This raises question about the project funding, its viability, as well as the impact on the region's economy and also local communities. The oil industries, or the oil industry has argued that pipeline will provide crucial economic opportunities for Uganda and Tanzania, such as creating jobs, generating revenue for both countries. However, critics of the project argue that these benefits must be weighed against the potential long-term costs, which are associated with climate change, social and environmental impacts of the pipeline. It is worth noting that there has been growing global pressure on the fossil fuel industry to transition to renewable energy sources and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In this context, the EACOP project has faced increased scrutiny and opposition from the environmental groups and concerned citizens who see the project as incompatible with these efforts to address climate change. In terms of funding, there has been significant challenge for Ugandan and Tanzania government, as well as the oil companies which are involved. They have been facing funding issues. The estimated cost of this project is around $3.5 billion. This is a huge capital investment, and the financing needs for this project has been a major point of contention. It has led to delay in terms of making the final investment decision and also starting some of the components of this project. There are several specific reasons why obtaining funding for this project has been a challenge. One is the environmental concerns that have been raised, including emissions, among others. There is question of land acquisition and compensation, political instability, fluctuation of oil global prices, and this raises the issue of profitability of the project, which is highly dependent on global oil prices. These have been volatile and unpredictable, making it difficult to secure long-term funding. There is also concerns over future of fossil fuels. This project involves transportation of crude oil, which is a fossil fuel. Some investors may be hesitant to invest in projects that are not aligned with the commitment to reduce carbon emission and transition into cleaner sources of energy. These factors have made it a challenge to secure funding for the EACOP project, despite the potential economic benefits that it promises for the region. This has led to delays. Although final investment decision has been made, it has been delayed because of this, and even the start of the project has been delayed because funding has not been secured. In terms of progress that have been made, as you have seen, some groundwork has been laid, and the project is maybe may kick off anytime from now. There have been signing of agreements, including host government agreements, shareholding agreements. There is tariff and transportation agreement, among others, and these have laid groundwork as far as legal framework is concerned, and putting up the necessary requirements that are supposed to help in kicking off this project. Studies and design have been conducted, including field geological surveys, environmental and social impact assessment, feasibility study, engineering design work. All these have been conducted, and for the purpose of assessing the technical and economic viability of the project, and most of these have been completed, and soon all the approvals will be given, and the project may start when the funding are available. There is also the allocation and compensation. As part of the project, some communities and individuals have to be reallocated to make way for the pipeline. The compensation process has been ongoing, with the Ugandan government providing compensation to the affected landowners and communities. Then his final investment decision for the project, which was made in April 2021, and this followed signing of the 3 key agreements which have been mentioned earlier. The decision paved way for the start of the construction work on the pipeline and laying out other facilities. In summary, the East African crude oil pipeline has generated significant debate and concern from environmentalists and local communities. This is related to potential impact that the project is supposed to have on environment and livelihood. The pipeline is expected to cross through sensitive ecosystems, which include protected areas and wetlands, and could lead to displacement of communities and disruption of their ways of life. There are also concerns about the potential for oil spills and other accidents that could have devastating impact on the environment and people health. Despite these concerns, the project has been moving forward, with the construction expected to start in the near future. The governments of Uganda and Tanzania have emphasized the economic benefits of the project, which include job creation, increased revenue from oil exports, among other benefits. International oil companies have also touted the project as a way of increasing their profits and meet their global demand for oil. In conclusion, the East African crude oil pipeline is a necessary project. Although it's complex and has generated significant debate and concerns about its potential impacts, the project remains viable and will bring immense economic benefits to both Tanzania and Uganda, although it carries risks which should be considered and mitigated. It will be important for all the stakeholders to work together to ensure that the project is implemented in a way that maximizes these benefits while minimizing the risks which have been identified. So thank you for watching this video. I thank you for reaching this far. Leave your comment about your thoughts about the project. For the repeat viewers, we thank you for the support that you have accorded this channel. Welcome for more videos in future. Thank you.